Hi everyone, so yesterday you learned how to add fractions. We reviewed adding like fractions and then we talked about adding unlike fractions. You would need to change your denominator to make them have the same denominator and then add them as they are now like fractions. Today you're going to be subtracting fractions and there's only one difference. Can you guess what that difference is? Instead of adding those numerators, we are going to subtract the numerators. But we still have those same three steps. So go ahead and find a page in your math notebook. Write subtracting. It should say subtracting fractions at the top. We still have those same three steps. It should, well, almost the same. It's the second one, instead of adding the numerator, we're going to be subtracting the numerator. So we still need to get common denominators. So that way we're subtracting the same size pieces from each other. You can't take away a third from a fourth, right? You'd have to have the same size pieces. So we get common denominators. And then we're going to subtract the numerators. And keep the same denominator. Okay, so it's just like yesterday, except instead of adding those numerators, you're subtracting them. So it's the same thing. Let's look at first 5/8 minus 4/8. This one already has a common denominator, so our first step's already done for us. Let's go ahead and draw some pictures of this. So I'm going to take a circle and split it into 8 pieces, because that's my denominator. And I have 5 of those 8 pieces colored in because it's 5 of 8. So this is a model of what that fraction will look like. If we take away 4/8, so we have the 5/8. If we take away 4 of those 8s, we're left with that one. That little guy is the only one that's left, and that is 1 out of 8. So you can see it follows our rules. We have common denominators, we just subtract the numerators. 5 minus 4 is 1, and then keep that denominator 8. That's why we keep the denominator. It's still going to be out of 8 pieces, right? If you had a pizza and you had 5 of the 8 pieces left, and then somebody ate 4 of those 8 pieces, or sorry, 4 of those 5 pieces, you'd have 1 out of a total that you started with 8. So we're not going to subtract the denominators or anything. We're just going to keep that denominator 8. 5 minus 4, subtract numerators, keep the denominator 1/8. So let's try one with different denominators. What if we had 3/4 minus 1/2? Well, if you remember yesterday, we found common denominators by finding a common multiple of these two denominators. So we're going to look for multiples of 4 and multiples of 2 until we find one in common. You might know right off the bat that 4 is a common denominator. You have 2, 4, 6, 8. So 4 is a common multiple, so 4 should be our common denominator. So this one, it's good. It already has a denominator of 4. We don't need to change it. 1/2, however, we should make a new denominator. 4, so we want an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 4. How do we get from 2 to 4? By multiplying by 2. So we should multiply the 1 also by 2. And that gives you 2/4. So now we have 3/4 minus 2/4. This is 2/4. Okay, we found the common denominator. That's the hard part. Now it's easy. Subtract the numerators. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then you keep the denominator 4. So 1/4. Okay, we'll do one more. This one's going to be a little harder. All right, example 3 will be 5/6 minus 1/5. Okay, you can't take fifths away from sixths. So our first step, common denominator. We have to have the same size pieces. So to find the common denominator, you can find the multiples of each denominator given until you find one in common. So 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. 5 will be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 is our common denominator. Okay, so we need to change both of these fractions so that they have a denominator of 30. So we're going to put 5/6 into an equivalent fraction with the denominator of 30. To get from 6 to 30, we multiply by 5. So we want to do 5 times 5, so that'll stay equivalent, and that gives us 25 30ths. 1/5 also needs to have a denominator of 30. To get from 5 to 30, we multiply by 6. So we do that to the top also. 1 times 6 then is 6. So this one equals 6/30. Much smaller. If we subtract the numerator, so 25 minus 6 would be 19. And then we keep that denominator of 30. And that's simplest form, because 19 is prime. You can't divide by anything besides 19. And 30 cannot be divided by 19. So that's simplest form. That's your answer. You guys will be doing page 655 and 656 in your math book. It's on Google Classroom though, and so you can work it out in the math book if you want to, but those answers need to be typed into your Google Classroom assignment.